Hey, Kimi, thank you for joining me on my podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you. How are you doing today?
I am awesome. Grateful that you took the time out of your day to decide to do this with me. Super excited to get to know you a little better. We haven't had the chance really to connect yet, but I feel like this is going to be a relationship that's definitely going to open up some things. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with a little bit about yourself, what you do, and so on and so forth. So, go ahead.
All right, so a little bit about me. I run a TikTok, Kimi.do, and I enjoy posting content about like investments, about books that I read, and some things that are like moving the needle in my life forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 15 years old, and I'm also wanting to start up a YouTube channel for posting more content. So I love posting content. I love reaching out to people. And I love spreading out things that I have learned throughout my life and throughout my journey so that I can share it with more people.
Okay, that's awesome. And so I was not aware that you were 15 years old. That is super awesome that you are already so dedicated to learning good content at such a young age. What do you think is it about yourself that kind of drove you to this? Because there's not many 15-year-olds out there that are interested in this kind of content.
Thank you. I think what got me started in learning this content is because I personally like dealt with a lot of struggle that kind of like forced me into thinking about like, what if bad happens? What if I have to like go live out by myself? How can I like live life by myself and support myself?
Mm-hmm.
So that got me thinking about like financial things. So one of the first few books I read is Think and Grow Rich, and that got me into more personal development. And I also ran into Gary Vee, which is also I love Gary Vee.
Yeah, that's the dude.
And more successful entrepreneurs. So that really got me interested in the topic of business and personal finance.
And how long ago did this discovery of interest happen to you?
I think about 1 year ago, and mostly last summer.
Mostly last summer. Okay. And so, what is probably one of the most important things you've learned in your time of doing this?
One of the most important things I learned.
Yeah.
Mostly about financial confidence.
Okay.
I think.
Is that something you
That
think
hit me
you
the
like lacked before?
Yeah, something before that I lacked was this mindset. Actually, I think the biggest thing is this mindset shift.
Yeah.
So, yeah, before I always thought like we have to work for money. Like we have to work very hard, and so if we put more work in it, money will come more. But now I realize that it's not about just hard work. Of course, hard work is very important, but there's also things such as passive income and investing. It's not just about trading time for money. I think that's one of the biggest breakthroughs I had.
Yeah, it was. So you would say that you finally understood like actual money, how rich and successful people make money work for them.
Yes, exactly. So making money work for you rather than you working for money all the time.
Okay. And so what are some of the ways that you've learned that you would say are some of the best ways? If someone is looking, someone has no idea where to start, where do you suggest someone starts investing?
Start investing? Investing in yourself, I think is one of the biggest ways to start investing, because when you invest into yourself, you can learn about the different ways you can grow yourself, grow your skills, and reach more people. So one of the best ways to get started on investing yourself, I believe, is reading books, watching podcasts, watching YouTube, and following successful people who are at the position you want to be. So I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing about how you're inspiring a lot of people and producing a lot of content.
Thank you. That means so
that's one
much.
of the best.
Thank you. That puts a giant smile on my face.
Because you really inspired me to start investing in myself and investing our time in producing content.
Yes, that is something that I personally learned from Gary Vaynerchuk. So I was kind of in a similar position to you where, I had a lot of limiting beliefs before. I also believe that, there's only a certain way you got to make money. You have to work for your money. And, and it's like you said, you find one thing that kind of draws you in, and you start just kind of snowballing from there. And then from one book leads to another book. And then that book leads you to a podcast. And then that podcast leads you to find somebody else. And it just kind of starts combining into this thing. And it's pretty ridiculous to see how the brain starts to slowly mold itself into whatever it is that you're surrounding yourself with.
I love what you said about the snowball. It's like once you get started with this one content, and then you start going into more content and the mindset shift and everything.
What I find most incredible about you is that you're just 15. Like, there's a lot of 15-year-olds that will hear about the content because Gary Vee right now is proving it. Like, Gary Vee is very popular amongst the younger demographic because he was on TikTok. But if you look at his comments, a lot of his comments are like negative. Like, people don't believe him. It's almost like people hate on him just because he's telling you what to do. You know what I mean? What would you have to say about someone who's 15 and is listening to Gary Vee and is like, well, sucks to whoever thinks Gary Vee knows all the answers, or you know what I mean? I'm sure you've seen that.
So, are you talking about like the mentality of like he did it but I can't do it?
Right,
like
yeah.
To that mentality, I struggle with that too a lot. I'm just seeing like a lot of successful people out there, like they're already at the position I want to be. But I think, as Gary Vee says, I think being patient and just like improving yourself a little bit, just like a tiny little bit every day, I think that really helps with the mindset part. Because I struggle with that a lot. Like I keep getting like really jealous of people who's already super successful and super famous. But I think it's what Gary Vee says about patience.
Mm-hmm. Patience, yeah. Patience in the macro, speed in the micro. I want to talk a little bit about your TikTok as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you started that because of Gary Vee.
I started it mostly because of Tom.
Okay.
At first, yeah, and Gary. So
And
at first that when I first TikTok, yeah, it was this platform that I thought was like just trendy videos and stuff. And then I also found out that Gary was on there, and you can actually produce a wide variety of content. It doesn't just have to be like one topic. It can be a whole variety of things or anything you want to talk about. So Tom persuaded me to go onto TikTok and try out different videos. So that's how I first got started.
okay. And I noticed that you haven't been posting a lot recently. Why is that?
Yeah, I haven't been posting a lot recently. Like the past few months, I haven't been good with posting on TikTok. Mostly because I feel like I'm struggling a lot with like judgment and, well, not with judgment, but like this fear of how other people will see my content and how they will react to my content. And also because I don't feel qualified enough to talk about like the things that I want to talk to, because I haven't, some of the things I talk about, I haven't really lived out the experience. So I want to like at least have a little experience or a lot of experience about what I'm talking about before I actually like teach it to other people.
Okay. And so you haven't thought, because Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about document, don't create, right? Why don't you document your journey? Why don't you talk about like what you've learned this day, this day, this day? Because obviously you read a lot of books. Am I correct in that assumption?
3,000 followers to double the amount I have now, and by doing that, I want to produce daily content.
Okay. And what platforms are you going to use to create your content? Other than TikTok,
What platform?
obviously. Yeah.
Mainly TikTok, and I also want to produce content on YouTube.
On YouTube? What kind of content are you looking to get into?
What kind of content? I'm thinking a lot of like documenting my journey. So talking about my experience and sharing it with people. So talking about the things that have moved the needle in my life forward the most.
Okay. And who are some of these role models that you listen to that you're going to be talking about a lot?
Yeah, I would love to talk about Gary Vee. So he's one of the biggest role models I have. And another role model that I look up to is Dan Lok, and also Grant Cardone. And so Gary Vee, Dan Lok, Grant Cardone, Graham Stephan. Yeah, he's really big on personal finance, which I'm really interested in. And also, I love Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins?
Yeah, the 5-second rule.
Yeah. Do you like Mel Robbins more than you like Tony Robbins?
Wait, are they related?
They're not related, but they used to be married.
Oh, they did?
I think so,
wow,
yeah.
I did not know.
Yep. Yeah, because she's a life coach as well, right?
I can't really say because they're so different in what they talk about. Like their main points are different. So I don't have a favorite. I like them both.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about books then. How important do you think books are? Nowadays, especially in 2020, where most people don't like reading books.
I think it's very, very important because the author probably spent like months writing the book, and when they write a book, they pour decades of their life experience into that one book. So I think a book is very valuable because they spent like decades living their life, and they pack decades of experience into that one book for us to consume. So there's a lot of value in there that we can't get out of like just a video or just media that we see online.
Right, yeah. How many books have you read in the last year?
In the last year, I would say about 40 to 50 books.
Wow.
I think in the last year.
Good for you. Which one has been your favorite?
What books are my favorite? One of my favorite books is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and another one of my favorite is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Why is Rich Dad Poor Dad one of your favorites?
It's one of my favorites because it really shifted my mindset and about my thinking about money. So one of the biggest shifts is the difference between an asset and a liability.
Mm-hmm.
And also like the mindset about finances.
Okay. And then
About working for versus money working for you.
Working for you. Yeah. Yep. And then why is the second one? What was it? The Psychology of Friends and How to Influence People? Or How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Yeah.
Why is that one of your favorites?
This one, the title sounds a bit weird because it sounds like you're like forcing people, but it's not about that. It's not about that at all. It's about how to understand people, how to have deep connections with people. And growing up, something I struggled a lot with is like making friends and talking to people. And also like I had a lot of social anxiety and I had like trouble making friends and getting along with people. So the title just really called out to me, and I think it helped me develop deeper relationships with people.
Wow.
By understanding their interests and what makes people feel like what they feel.
Right, yeah. So you're a little bit interested in psychology as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are some of the books that really shifted the needle for you in your life?
Unshakable by Tony Robbins. That is one of my all-time favorite books. It's definitely geared more towards the financial aspect of life. Tony Robbins is known a lot for like his mental ability to help people like get out of their own shell. But this book he wrote more towards the money aspect of it. And that's where I really learned the importance of investing into mutual funds, investing into the stock market. Like he breaks it down so easily for you to understand and comprehend. And he also helps you get your finances, all of your other finances in check. So that was definitely one that kind of helped start my career as an entrepreneur, because you can't be an entrepreneur without having all of your money in order, right? Like you can't start a business without having the concept of money. And one of my other favorite books of all time, and it's one that I recommend to all of my clients, is The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. I love that book. I live by that book. I felt like every paragraph, every word just like hit me every single time. And I know Grant Cardone can be kind of like he has a similar style to Gary Vaynerchuk. Like he's very like in your face, very like aggressive. But I love that. Like that's how I respond to people. So definitely Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone are two of my all-time favorite human beings in general. And then of course I like Crush It and Crushed It by Gary Vaynerchuk, the 2-part series. Yeah, so that's kind of how I started building my YouTube, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Instagram, and all that. Was after I read that book, I understood the social media aspect of life and how important it is to creating your brand, how important it is to creating who you're going to be in the next 10, 15 years. So yeah, those are my 3 guys: Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, and Gary Vaynerchuk for sure.
Yeah, they all have massive influences on my life as well.
Yeah. So I think it's cool sometimes how their ideas kind of are the same, but they have different ways of saying it, and so you kind of get different perspectives on the same idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like one person might have a different way of wording things, but mostly a lot of their ideas are similar, but the way of them saying it, like some of it might impact you in a different way, or like in a deeper way, on a deeper level.
Do you believe in rereading books? Like reading books 2, 3, 4 times over?
Sometimes, if I enjoyed reading it the first time, then I'll read it again and again.
Has it ever happened to you where you read a book and obviously you're not going to remember every bit of information, but you read a book and after you're done, you're like, okay, so I kind of remember what this book is about. But then when you read it a second time, 6 months later, a year later, whatever the case may be, you read it over again and you come out a whole different perspective. Like the ideas in the book were just like different. And it's because of like, has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, that totally did, because like the first time you feel like you got so much out of there, but then the second time you go back in and then there's like some things you haven't like really noticed or dive deep the first time, but then the second time, like these new ideas, these new connections come to you.
That happens to me a lot with podcasts too, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I can listen to the same podcast 3, 4, 5 times over, and every single time I'm gonna get a different message out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like media, like books, podcasts, YouTube videos. When you watch it over and over, like you dive deeper every single time, and that's so amazing. I love the feeling.
Yeah, I like that too. But it just goes to show you, like, back to how they all say the same thing. Like, the answer is simple. Like, the answer to success is literally in front of everybody's face. It's in every book. It's in every podcast. Pretty much, they all say the same exact thing. And that goes to show you that what they're saying is the truth. If Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, and Gary Vaynerchuk, 3 of the most powerful people on earth, are all saying the same thing, then there's something going on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what's going on when they all say it, but in different ways.
Right, yeah. So I just think people need to be more willing to accept the change, because have you ever heard the quote, like, success is a state of mind? Like, success isn't luck, success isn't skill. Like, I don't think success requires skill, and I don't think success requires luck either. I think success just requires you to have the right mindset and knowing what you're getting yourself into. As long as you have the right mindset, it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, exactly. First you have to be, and then you do.
Exactly. Yes. Well, that has been half an hour, so I think we're going to cut it there, Kimi. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking time out of your day to do this with me. I appreciate it a lot. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't let other people's opinions get to you. I know it's hard. I know a lot of people, especially with the things that we talk about, there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people that are, saying whatever. Please, please, please don't let that stop you. I want to see more of your face on TikTok. I want to see more of your content. Just keep producing it 3, 4 times a day. But just please don't stop, because you are so young. I almost envy you in how young you are. You are a whole 6 years younger than I am, and you already are the way that you are. So I congratulate you on that. You're well on your way to success, and I wish you nothing but the best in your future.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hear that, because I need to work on like putting myself out there and not letting like my own fears and doubts stop myself.
Yeah, don't let it do it. Get out of your head. It's like Tony Robbins says, stay in your head, you're dead, and you don't want that. So, it's all in here. It's all in here. You said it yourself. So, yep, just get out of there and just do you. All right, Kimi?
All right.
All right,
Thank
it
you
was a
so
pleasure
much.
talking
Thank
to you. We'll stay in contact, all right?